Kwa hako papers magaga.
Good afternoon and welcome to Argate Television. Welcome to the newspaper edition of Thursday edition. And my name is Benjamin Gutav, bringing you the various perspectives of the papers, what the papers are saying. Last time we had different issues on the papers. But today again, presenting different views of the people and of government as well, policies and of all the things that people are saying. I have joining me on the program today, as usual. I have from my left. Let me start from my left today.
Well, my name is Mano Tiavia, and it's good you started on the left-hand side, since I am a lefty.
It's okay. And from my right here, I have, just say your name.
I am Nathaniel Nongo.
Okay. Of course, the papers are very interesting. They're carrying a lot of things. Without wasting much of the time, we'll go straight into. But let me begin to ask you, Emmanuel Tavia, Nigeria. The papers, looking at what the headlines are saying, you understand that. Are you impressed with what you say?
Well, each and every day when you look at the papers, it's a book of lamentations. Each and every day, a new chapter of the Book of Lamentations is opened. But what I would say is that good news still exists in Nigeria. It's just that it's hard to find it these days.
Okay. How about you, Nathaniel?
Well, as I keep saying, the debates in Nigeria are never ending, from security to economy to issues about political horse trading. The issue in Rivers is never ending. The tussle over Emiirship in Kano, and so many issues that are ongoing. And of course, the negotiations for minimum wage, even though the federal government is yet to state an official position, the issue have continued to catch the attention of many Nigerians. And I want to believe that as we scan through the papers, you will get to meet what policy government officials are saying, and what actually we may need to speak to as well.
Okay, that's nice. Let's go to the first newspaper, and we have Vanguard. Vanguard is our first paper, and this bold headline on Vanguard says, minimum wage, why governors, others are foot dragging. That is what you have there. Just above the nameplate of the news, the Vanguard newspaper, you have Naira depreciation makes Lagos Abuja. But before that, let me take some riders there of that minimum wage. Why governors, others are for dragging. It says, may retrench workers need a bailout to pay. Idris detaches self from unwilling governors, awaits Labour, FG's stand. And again, no agreement, but alignment of interests, OBS, and pushes for new act to cover employees with minimum of 200 workers. Senators Wadada begs Tinubu to approve 150 and says 150,000. Says lawmakers willing to make sacrifices. Okay, these are the riders you have on that paper. Just above the nameplate, you have cholera outbreak. FG may declare emergency. NCDC, DG, as some parents prevent children from school. And Edo Guba, PDP expels Shaibu, Obi cites anti-party activity. Just down the paper you have, or beside it, you can see the picture, the bold picture there of President Bola Tinubu be at the swearing in of the South Africa president. Again, Rivers crisis, Fubara orders probe of LG accounts, and you have Obaseki gives Edo CP 7 days to fish out killers of Uniben graduate. So many to talk about, but let's begin with the boat headline, minimum wage. I will begin with you, Nat. You say something. What do you have to say?
As the headline suggests, minimum wage, why governors are foot dragging. I keep wondering why governors should foot drag over an issue that concerns welfare of workers, because these are the people that drives the economy. They drive the workforce of the entire country. So why governors should be foot dragging? I remember as these negotiations were ongoing, governors actually came out with a position that 60,000 naira is way too high and unsustainable, that they cannot afford. But here we have one of them, that is Governor Idris of Kebbi State, detaching himself from the unwilling governors, saying he is awaiting the Labour federal government's stand on the issue. Also, the same way Governor Idris is detaching himself from the unwilling governors who are not willing to pay what the federal government may agree on, we should hope that other governors too should make their position clearly. Now, the workers in Nigeria, given the current economic realities, the 30,000 naira minimum wage, which has been paid, the one that the country has been paying over time, it's no longer sustainable. Given the current inflation, the cost of living in general, even the 60,000 naira that the governors are saying is unsustainable and it's too high. Can 60,000 naira adequately fend for a family of 3 or 4 in this country in our current realities, if we should be sincere with ourselves? So I think the governors should have no reason at all to foot drag. But in the end, the buck stops with the federal government. I want to believe that once the federal government makes its own position known, the governors should have no option but to key into it. After all, the allocations have shored up since the removal of fuel subsidies. So I don't think no minimum wage should be too high for the country to pay at this moment. And if Senator Wadada, who is begging Tinubu to approve 150,000 naira, and saying lawmakers are willing to make sacrifices, if he is true to it, well, it's coming from a senator. It would have carried more weight if it were the Senate president or the speaker saying this, that the lawmakers are willing to make such sacrifices and begging. Well, in the end, the act for the new national minimum wage will certainly go to the parliament.
Yes,
that's the Senate and the House of Representatives. So it shouldn't stop with Senator Wadada begging Tinubu to approve 150. He should lobby his colleagues. He should convene his colleagues to see reason why 150,000 naira should be a new minimum wage for the Nigerian worker. I think for now, on the issue of minimum wage, that would be my take on it. But again, they may retrench workers. They need bailout. Why would governors retrench workers? If you retrench, will it make it whatever will be approved? If you retrench and you employ a number, will it? Will you cope with the payment? Is the retrenchment the solution to the issue now? Because if already we are facing a general hike in inflation, cost of living, and you are considering retrenchment, won't it even cause more harm to citizens and the Nigerian workers?
Yeah, Emmanuel, what's your own take?
Well, I think Senator Wadada is not far from the truth. I did see an analysis, and it made me dig deeper and realize that when the national minimum wage was moved from, I think, 18,000 to 30,000, the analysis by the MBS was that for a family of 5, that is 3 children, a mother and a father, at that point in time in Nigeria, to live the life of a lower middle class, you would need, at that point in time, you would need 67,000 naira every month to pay utilities, groceries, food, toiletries, and, just settle one or two bills. It came up to about 67,000 naira. Now, right now, for that same family, the new analysis that has come out, also supported by government agencies itself, you need about 248,000 naira. So if at the point where the minimum wage was 30,000, the needs for a family of 5 was 68,000, by extrapolation, doing some mathematics, you would say the minimum wage for the new living standard should be within the range of 125, 130 to 150 that Senator Wadada is suggesting. For governors who are complaining, I think they should listen to the senator. Well, Nat said he doesn't carry enough weight. I don't know if he has to be as big as myself to make statements that will be weighty.
Or rather, they should listen to their governor colleague, Idris.
Yes, Idris of Kebbi. So. Yeah. And I think retrenchment will not work like Nat said. It would only add to the problems. The negotiations are not yet over, and people are already making negative comments. I think this is just a bargaining tactic, and Labour should not back down because Nigerians are being beaten hard by the policies that government has decided to promote.
Yeah, one thing again I want to look at this. When I looked at the national minimum wage discussion, or brouhaha, if you permit me to use that big English, I understand that the first person who started the national minimum wage was Chief Obafemi Awolowo in the regional section. He paid higher than what the federal government was paying,
yes.
and even far other states.
There are states that are already agreeing to 80,000.
So the conversation is now drawing towards, should we go to that part that we started with? Because when he even started it, the federal government didn't buy into it. It was until...
Okay, we should return to the regional government.
Perhaps. It's looking like that, isn't it?
Yes.
Because Edo is implementing 70.
70 already.
So,
yeah.
If other states... again, another question again, it's if we can go back to the regional part, and as we have gone back to the old national anthem, when Shagari implemented the new minimum wage in 1981, we had people were the minimum wage was 125 naira at that time,
yes.
and dollar was 0.61 at that time.
Yeah.
So convert it, you have I don't know, but if you now
you should have around 300,000.
300,000. So bring it to this moment. I'm just saying, let's go back to.
You have suddenly become a good mathematician because the minimum wage is involved.
Yeah, but let's go back. Let's take.
I'm sure that members of the Nigerian Labour Congress will look at you and say, "Man of God, remain blessed."
No, I'm just saying, let's go back because we are going back to the old things. Yeah?
Yes.
Old national anthem. Let's go back to the new old minimum wage.
The truth is, if we go back to how the glorious days of our old economy, one may agree that even 30,000 naira will still be sustainable in the days of the old, as it were, because back then the things were not as the general hike and cost of living was not as expensive.
If we just reverse inflation back to 2010 now, pardon the interruption, at that point in time, a bag of rice was around 4,800 naira. So you could comfortably live on 30,000 naira. I remember DSTV subscription. Sorry, we're mentioning their brand, but it's one of the services that people, use. It's a utility, so to speak. The premium package was around 3,000 something. Then you could buy data for your phone for 1,000, and it would last you through 2-3 months. So like Nat is saying, I'm just borrowing a leaf from you. If we were to reverse Nigeria just a decade or so back, 30,000 might be, a reasonable amount to pay. But like you were suggesting, if we were to extrapolate between the past and now, definitely what Labour is proposing will not look outlandish, especially considering that if you put our National Assembly members, governors, and the president at par with their counterparts, they get paid the best salaries and allowances compared to their counterparts from even more developed nations.
Okay.
And what is good for Ali is good for Abib.
Okay, that's fine. So that much about the minimum wage. Let's look at Rivers crisis. Fubara's orders probe of LG accounts. Emmanuel, last week we talked about this. It is a journey. The journey is moving. This week we're here.
It's 1 week, one trouble. Well, Ben, it's 1 week, one trouble.
And it doesn't look as if it's going to end any soon.
The other day we were speaking about it, Nat, and we agreed that the governor seemed in a hurry to expel chairmen whose tenures had expired. And now the dust has not even settled. It's within this week. And the next thing you see is another scene in the drama is probing of local government accounts. Well, if there is autonomy, these kinds of dramas may not arise because the terror of the government that the people have consistent interaction with, easy access to, is that of the local government. If the probe is built on something that is altruistic, we would welcome it. But from the I don't want to use that phrase, comings and goings this time around, but from the comings and goings in Rivers, you would know that this probe is not built on something tangible.
Nath, you have a different opinion. You look at what is happening in Rivers. Now the police have been stationed to bar the newly inaugurated local government chairman. And the governor is saying they can operate anywhere. Does that sound ring?
But again, I had warned earlier that if the situation in Rivers is not curtailed, it's gradually snowballing into a crisis. Because here is the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, who has inaugurated caretaker committees as new chairman, new council bosses to take over. But if the security operators are preventing them from accessing local government secretariats, and he is insisting that they can operate anywhere, it means those who feel that their own tenure should still subsist, there will be a clash. And of course, if this situation is not carefully handled, it will snowball into a serious crisis. Already the opposition political party, APC, in that state is calling for a state of emergency over this crisis, because it doesn't stop at just inaugurating caretaker chairman and also asking that they should be probed. But it goes to also show you that if the police is preventing the newly inaugurated caretaker chairman from accessing the office, then it means the federal government has an interest in this too. And the security is openly on the side of maybe the pro-Wike camp. Because as far as I'm concerned, the chairman whose tenure may have expired now, they were those who were there when Wike, then as governor, was in Rivers. And if the security is preventing the inaugurated caretaker chairman, it means there is a backing of the federal government. But, one would expect that the situation should be managed so that it doesn't degenerate into unnecessary spilling of blood. Already, the confrontation for the chairman to leave office from reports had led to the deaths of at least 3 persons that is reported already in Rivers. So one will expect that Governor Fubara and Nyesom Wike, the Minister of the FCT, should find a middle ground in all of this. There's no insistence. If the police are barring the caretaker chairman from accessing the council secretariats and you are insisting that they can operate anywhere, then what is their authority to operate from anywhere as the governor is insisting? The probe of local government accounts, is it today that he's suddenly realizing that there's need to probe local government accounts for whatever reason? So I think the situation in all should be managed in a way that the crisis that is brewing in Rivers is an unnecessary one, I must say. We don't need it at this time. It's not what we augur well for the development of that state, or neither will it impact anything positively on the country in general.
The thing is, looking at what the narratives people put up, saying that the local government amendment law of 2024 made by the House of Assembly said if there is no election, the current chairman could go for 6 months, extended tenure. So the question again many people are asking is whether the governor is not being
aware of the law,
yeah,
or upholding the rule of law.
Or upholding the rule of law.
Yes.
So that's another question to look at. So
yes,
it's a big thing to ask here, and it appears that governors, this is the way they go. The laws, they put the laws by the side, and then carry on with what they feel they should do.
But again, one would expect that as a governor, you should be the number one person to live by example, by upholding the rule of law. The governor shouldn't be seen to be above the law, because the law you are talking about is a creation of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And if you are not respecting institutions, the legislature is an institution of government, an independent arm of government.
Yes.
So if you are not respecting laws that are enacted by the legislature, then how do you expect your office as a governor, as a chief executive, to be respected as an executive arm of government. So the governors shouldn't be seen to be above the law.
And
Over the times, this is what seems to be playing out in the country.
it goes to
There are certain things governors will make just executive pronouncement in the state that they don't happen, but they themselves are not living by that example.
it goes to tell whether these laws that are being enacted have any benefit.
Well, I
to
think
all
it
of
is
us.
all about I must have my way politics, where if you know that the institutions will not work or bend to your will, you ignore them and decide to just, by executive fiat, implement whatever you want to do and wait for the pieces to fall, the puzzle to fall any which way it has to fall. If not, already the Independent Electoral Commission of the state is preparing for local government elections. Why not just wait until that period and then do what you want to do? If a local government law had been in place by the State House of Assembly, even before you were inaugurated as governor, why try to usurp the same law now? The way things are right now, the governor knows that I cannot go to the State House of Assembly. And that is why he is, doing what he is doing. If not, it would have simply been a question of reversing the law, going through the assembly. But, he is hemmed in on both sides. So the best thing for him to do is just, bulldoze your way in and have your way.
Okay, indeed, bulldoze your way and have your way. That's a fine one there. But let's go to the next paper, and next paper is Punch. And it punches us here in the same similar way the Vanguard story carried, one of the stories in the Vanguard newspaper. It says, Rivers plans parallel secretariats as police bar Fubara caretaker chairman. Governor orders caretaker chairman to get alternative secretariat as police short LGAs. And that is a big story coming up there. Cholera, of course. NCDC may declare emergency. Lagos issues safety guidelines. And FGI's 4.4 billion new loans as debt hits 101 trillion. That's just what we have on the Punch newspaper. It's just what we just finished talking about. But you can hear what the governor is saying. Please, young men, go look for anywhere. That means it sounds as if during the Yaradua's time, the president can operate anywhere.
And maybe we may have a doctrine of necessity coming in again at this
Or we might
time.
have to call one of the local government chairmen and ask them, Gemini, where are you?
Yeah, so much is not on the front of the Punch newspaper, but we'll go next into the Nation newspaper. And the Nation newspaper, it's just similar. It appears Rivers, it's indeed taking the front pages of the newspaper. Rivers crisis, police retain control of council secretariats. Fubara again appointed caretaker chairman, can access offices. Okay, can access. IG directs probe of killings as death toll rises to 3. APC declares state of emergency. You just said that. But the question here is, what picture does it paint that police have taken over control of the secretariat? What picture does it paint in the present democracy?
Sincerely, it shows you the extent to which the reverse crisis I keep saying is brewing. Because at this time, if the police may not wade in, because you are aware of the fact that the chairman whose tenure has expired refused to also vacate offices. In fact, talks went to some of the secretariats based on reports to force some of the chairmen out. So if at this time the police may not wade in, and the so-called the chairman whose tenure is assumed to have expired and the ones inaugurated are clashing on who will access the secretariat, then it means there may be needless blood spillage. So I think for me, sincerely, the police may have waded in at this time to control the situation, just to not to allow the crisis to degenerate. One would expect that Governor Fubara, who is the chief executive of the state, should work according to the specification of the law. If he's not conducting the election, let at least for now, maybe returning those chairmen as caretaker in place in the transition period
Of
of
6
getting
months.
the elections to hold would have been better than bringing, because as far as I'm concerned, it's just a question of bringing people who he may feel are loyal to him.
The question is again, is Emmanuel, let me ask you this. I'm just asking that for how long will the police officers take control of the secretariat?
That is the $1 million question, the elephant in the room. When will the elections take place? The optics does not look good. It does appear like, why are the police so active? Who called for the police to come in? This is a case of 3D chess. If Governor Fubara's people, quote and unquote, the thugs who went about trying to forcefully remove the chairman. By the way, I'd like to point this out. Their tenure in terms of elected term in office has expired. But according to law, they are supposed to still be on
charge.
seat for at least a term of 6 more months, or as soon as the elections can be conducted. If the governor had had the foresight, he could have arranged, and this is also a lesson for other governors, make sure that the elections for local governments hold as at when due, so that there will be no lacuna. As it is right now, I foresee, I do not want to predict, but the State House of Assembly might institute impeachment proceedings against him for this entire brouhaha. As per the role of the police, like Nat did say, they might actually be trying to be the arbiter to maintain peace and order. However, the optics and the way politics is played out in Nigeria does appear as if someone from Abuja is forcing their hand to get involved in these crises. It is not about how long they will stay there, but to what end. Because right now, the caretaker local government chairman, so-called caretaker chairman, have already started dissolving the local government committees. And how would the local governments really function? I end by saying this is why we need local government autonomy.
Because maybe I should chip in here too. The issue of local government autonomy, the lacuna, like you pointed out, it will be quite shocking to feel that the 4-year tenure of a governor has expired and there is nobody to take over. Or there's a scramble for who should be a caretaker governor.
Yes.
Why should we be having caretaker chairman over time when there are no caretaker governors or caretaker presidents for the country?
Okay, because the question I ask is the police are staying there. No one for now knows when they are going to leave that place. And if this continues, it means they will continue to take care of that secretariat. So
But I think the IG, the Inspector General of Police, owes the country a duty to actually deploy his men to Rivers to man the secretariat the way he has done. Otherwise, already you saw the rider there, the IG ordering for the probe of 3 persons, leading to the whole crisis. So if it means if the police are not deployed to stay there, we could record more deaths.
So what's the solution? What do you think is the immediate solution?
In the immediate, let the police continue to man the secretariats, and Governor Fubara should get the caretaker chairman to operate from anywhere, as he already has posited that they can operate from anywhere.
You have a different
Well,
ruling, more or less. To say.
as your lordship pleases. This Rivers crisis, I see no end in sight. What I think we should be talking about is the gladiators, or the masquerades, as Nat did refer to them the other day. They should come to a common understanding for the sake of those who matter, that is the masses, to ensure that they are not, punished for giving them the platform to lead them in the state of Rivers. We need to sheathe our swords on both sides to ensure that peace, because Rivers is a volatile state at the best of times. And right now it's combustible, waiting for any spark to ignite an explosive scenario.
Okay, we just got news coming in. Court postpones verdict on Kanu Emirate tussle to 2 p.m. And that will take us for a break. We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the newspaper review. Stay with us.
Respect.
Student, which you no go agree for this year?
Failure in academics.
Any area at all.
Make sure-
I will just agree. If lecturer talk to me, I will agree for her now because in be superior over me now.
Anybody dey try oppress me actually I no agree for am. Hit me bottle I wipe your iron normally.
First, me, I don't agree for myself. And then so many things. Some
personal.
yes, some personal.
Enter your personal life.
No. Respect.
Student, which you no go agree for this year?
Failure in academics.
Any area at all.
Make
I
sure-
will just agree. If lecturer talk to me, I will agree for her now because in be superior over me now.
Anybody dey try oppress me actually I no agree for am. Hit me bottle I wipe your iron normally.
First, me, I don't agree for myself. And then so many things. Some
personal.
yes, some personal.
Enter your personal life.
No.
Television, and this is iGate newspaper review, and we've looked into many papers, and our next paper is going to be Daily Trust, and the big story on Daily Trust is Kano Emirate tussle, Sanusi Bayero no fate today, and police deploy around court strategic locations, and NPP APC exchange fresh tackles. And we also have below the nameplate of Daily Trusts, customs record 4.4 trillion revenue in 1 year. And alleged terrorism, Nnamdi Kanu 6, negotiation with FG. Ramaphosa sworn in for second term, says South Africans disappointed. Below the paper, just below the bold headline, you have Shetima affirms FG's commitment to Northeast's economic revival, and how ban on roadside trading is causing panic, agony in Jos. Bandits kill man who took 16 million ransom, 3 bikes to them in Kaduna, and just the bottom of the paper says APC wants state of emergency, PDP backs Fubara. These are the stories on the newspaper today. But before we look at the main headline, you understand that we brought to you earlier that there is a breaking news concerning the ruling, and is just a court postpones verdict of Kano Emirates tussle to 2 p.m. But that doesn't stop us from discussing it, isn't it?
No.
Justice is only delayed for now because the justice is being delayed until 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
But again, the Emirate tussle. One keep wondering why there are so many tussles, political to Emirate, from Rivers to Kano, or several tussles. In Rivers, it's about the tussle of who is in charge as council chairman, and then in Kano there you go, Emir Sanusi, as well as now deposed Emir Ado Bayero, who is actually the Emir of Kano. But in all of these, I should think even the current Emir that has been reinstated, that is Emir Sanusi Lamido, Governor Yusuf Abba, actually got the State Assembly to do this. So I don't know why it should be a matter of litigation upon litigations, because it got to a point courts in the Kano were giving counter upon counter judgment. The chief judge of the high courts in Nigeria had to even invite the state chief judge of Kano to come and explain why there are so many conflicting court orders. At one point, another court will issue an order that Ado Bayero is still the emir, and another one will issue a counter order that Emir Sanusi is still in charge. So one really does not know where the whole fate is taking us to. But in all of this, we should look out for the outcome of what is the judgment. Bayero and Sanusi getting to know face today. Like I said, the 2 hours, 2 p.m. is not 24 hours. In the next less than 1 or 2 hours, we should get to know what truly is the fate in Kano concerning who is legitimately the emir in charge in Kano.
Emmanuel, this is another thing that will definitely have the ruling, this particular ruling, if it comes out, it will definitely go a long way to affect or have a way of touching on the critical aspect of the traditional aspect of this country.
You know, even
traditional system.
Yeah, you know, even in the traditional institution, you have godfathers. But in the traditional institution, the name is Kingmaker. It is the Kingmaker, one of the Kingmakers, Aminu Baba Danagundi, who went to the court to challenge the repeal of the Emirate Council Law of 2024, that was repealed, in 2024, a law that was relied upon to reinstate Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, former CBN governor, back to the seat that he was installed in as the 14th emir. Now, remember, Sanusi, when he was dethroned, would always insist that people should still refer to him as His Royal Highness or His Eminence. And you didn't dare not call him to his face the former emir. He would say he is the 14th emir, that he's still alive. You can only refer to him as late emir when he is dead. The man kept hope alive. And the new government came in. His reaction when he was dethroned is what has made it possible for him to be reinstalled. The present, the emir who was deposed, you know, there's so much deposition and reinstallment. It's like the national anthem, a bit confusing. You don't know who's the new of the old. But the 15th emir, who is presently deposed,
who is back for a second tenure,
that may be reimposed by 2 p.m., who is fighting for his tenure, his reaction is a bit aggressive, and that may lead to a situation where even if there's room for him to be reinstalled in future, it may close all doors. However, when you allow the traditional institution to be controlled by political interests, you would always, it will lead to this type of things.
Okay, the other headline here is Customs records 4.4 trillion revenue in 1 year. This is huge. It means the money we're talking about, first subsidy removed plenty money into the purse of the federal government.
Because if we're having 4.4 trillion naira in 1 year, then it speaks to the wonders the removal of fuel subsidies doing to the revenue profile of Nigeria. But again, generating it 4.4 trillion is something of interest. But again, how are the resources applied to better the lots of Nigerians? Because if we are generating 4.4 trillion naira in 1 year as revenue, and the issue of minimum wages being dragged by governors that 60,000 naira is not enough to pay, it calls to concern.
Well, the generation may be record-breaking on paper, but if you look at inflationary trends, you will realize that this is just equivalent to about $3.1 billion with the current exchange rate. If the case was reversed to the old exchange rate, that would be about $8 billion. See the damage inflation causes to an economy? So actually, the spending power of that money is about 1/3 of what it was 2 years ago, or less than 18 months ago. So I am not surprised that customs have generated this much, but the real value of what they have generated is far less than what they generated last year. On paper, it's exciting and all that, but in reality, the spending power of what they have generated is not what it was about 15 months ago. However, we must also applaud them for the fact that a lot of new technologies and approaches are being applied to prevent leakages at various sources of collation of revenue.
Let's go to the next paper, and we have Nigerian News Direct, and the big headline, or the bold headline if you want to say, is how Nigeria is losing millions of dollars annually to technology transfer, regulations, non-compliance, as FG moves to penalize defaulters. What a headline. Technology And just below there, you have Makinde approves Olakunle Hin as 43rd Olubadan. And below the nameplate, you have Nosdra confirms oil spill from Nembe Field. And river crisis again making headlines there. PDP, APC in war of words, decry unrest. Kano expresses unwillingness to settle case with FG out of court. And PDP expels Shuaibu, national vice chairman, over anti-party activities. One issue again is happening in Edo State.
In Edo State. And this Edo State, one we really love to watch and see how it ends, because already Philip Shuaibu, then former the deputy governor, to Godwin Obaseki, was impeached. And here is a man who was vying for the Guba ticket on the PDP platform. He never got a ticket. He has been impeached and now expelled from the party. One is really, we can already predict that the man may likely be on the way to pitch his tent with an opposition tent. And it tells you that the Guba election, which is an off-cycle election in Rivers, in Edo State, is going to be an interesting one to watch out for. The Danobi, who is suspended, is the zonal vice chairman of the PDP in the South-South region. So if Edo is expelling the national vice chair, Danobi and Philip Shuaibu, it speaks to how interesting that election is going to be one to watch out for. Philip Shuaibu is not a pushover in Edo politics.
Not at all.
The second tenure of Governor Obaseki got, it is said that he played a significant role in that election. And now that he's been shoved aside, and not just being shoved aside as deputy governor, he's now being expelled from the PDP. I think PDP may really battle to get to win that election should Philip Shuaibu decide to pitch his tent with an opposition candidate.
Well, politics, as described by a friend of mine who will remain unnamed, he said it's like dancing on shifting surfaces. I think Philip Shuaibu was a big-time player in the political landscape of Edo State, but sometimes if you're not careful, you might, experience what a blind man experienced somewhere in Benue State, in a notorious town, not a notorious town, in a popular town. It is said that the blind man, some youth were hailing him and praised him that, oh, Baba, the way you are moving about these days, it seems like you are no longer blind. Do you even really need your walking stick? He threw the walking stick away. 5 minutes later, he started asking the young man, please, where is my walking stick? So Shuaibu must have listened to some things that made him feel a bit bigger than he was. Yes, he helped Obaseki to get the second term, but did he have the national structure? Did he have the financial structure? Did he have the connect to battle a sitting governor? He did not. He may have been a good servant to ensure that his Oga returned for the second term. But just like another fellow who at the national level has contested for presidency several times without winning because he fought his master at a time he shouldn't have, whose name we will not mention here, it's a similar situation. And that is the way I feel. I feel so bad for him. He was so relevant in making sure that Obaseki returned for the second term. He has built up the party in the state. They couldn't even allow him to contest for the nomination. He was impeached, did not get a ticket, and now
he's expelled from
the party. It's a pitiable situation, really, in terms of his...
But really, it speaks to the morality that is lacking in our political space, if I should say, because
politicians do not care for optics.
Here's a man who, as a deputy governor, he and Governor Obaseki were more like twins, especially in the first tenure.
And he paid his dues.
He's suddenly become an enemy to the point of even being expelled, although there are alleged anti-party activities. In politics,
you give a dog a bad name when you want to kill it.
Anti-party activities are bound to happen. So once you hope that the anti-party activities should be in such a way that in the overall of it all, the interests of those citizens should play out. I remember the election leading the second tenure of Obaseki. the popular phrase "Edo no be Lagos" was playing at. I am wondering what will be on the lips of the Edo people this time. Now that Philip Shuaibu, who
Okay.
is a strong force in that election, is shoved aside for anti-party activities. So I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe
let's-
Edo, maybe Lagos this time, or I don't know.
Okay, let's go to the next paper, and it's quite interesting. We have a few of them to go with, and let's go to the Daily Independent. And again, Fubara, the ones we've talked about, we'll quickly just run over them, and we go. Fubara again, Rivers LG tenure crisis. Fubara orders probe of LG's, swears in Ketikek chairman committee, says Rivers won't set precedent on LG extension. So again, PDP, Edo PDP expels Obi, Philip, and these are just stories that we have seen in other papers, and they're not seen as to talk. But let's go to the next one, which is Sun. Sun has something more interesting, the Daily Sun, to look at. The NCDC panics over cholera outbreak, alerts state governments on safety measures. Lagos issues health advisory to parents and schools. That's a bold headline there. And you have above, just beside nameplate, Nigeria under me better than today's. Obasanjo making that statement. We don't have the details here. But again, some of the papers, there's other stories there, are just stories that we also looked at. Let's look at this NCDC talking about this is going to be panic. There's panic already in the country of
The spread of
outbreak.
cholera. I think parents and guardians and even teachers in schools need to teach children about personal hygiene. Hand washing is a veritable panacea for the spread of cholera and food hygiene in general. People need to be conscious of the fact that there is an outbreak. It is not yet at the level of an epidemic, and we cannot say it has become a pandemic because it's not yet worldwide. But for us in Nigeria, it is heading towards an epidemic. There is an outbreak. That's the categorization for now. There is an outbreak, and parents particularly need to call their children and educate them about this disease. Also, those who are fond of, buying things by the roadside and eating them, take care, so that because it's a communicable disease that is transmitted through unhygienic food, especially water. And if someone uses water that has cholera in it and washes whatever he or she is cooking, and then you consume it, if the pathogens are not killed in the process of cooking the food, then of course you will begin to have symptoms of cholera. Any signs of extreme diarrhea accompanied by weakness, please do not self-medicate. I repeat, I'm not a medical doctor, but from the tips that some of us have gathered about this, please go to a hospital so that you can be given attention. And parents, if you have kids, please buy ORS, find out how it is prepared, keep it in stock, because symptoms can begin at a time of the day you might not be able to go to a hospital.
Okay, and this is when you look at this, I'm just trying to begin to see that are we going to go back to the days of COVID-19?
Anyway, the good thing is cholera may not bring us a lockdown, but the lockdown may be necessary that may occur could be in schools, because from previous reports that I have read, some parents are even scared of sending their children to schools for fear of getting them to contract cholera. But again, the NCDC, that's the National Center for Disease Control, should not be seen as panicking. They should rather tighten up measures to curb the spread of cholera across the country. Deaths have been recorded and reported in some parts of the state, but majorly, cholera is a food and waterborne disease. And during this time of rainy season, the water sources are mostly contaminated as a result of flooding. It also, and given the general
Drainage. Waste management.
Yes, waste management, an issue. Given the general lack of potable water, people just resort to
Open
drinking
defecation.
every source of water that is available. Open defecation, fuel seed, waste management, proper waste disposal. For instance, if you go around the major cities of our parts of our country, you see heaps of refuse occupying major streets. All these are breeding ground for such a disease-causing pathogens that we really, it has to even do with our attitude as a people to strengthen sanitation measures, environmental cleanliness, personal hygiene, the regular hand washing culture, like you mentioned. COVID, the general feeling was that we could lock ourselves down in the room. You were even scared to go out, given that it was airborne, as we said. But so far, we are happy that in the era of cholera, we have not been told to drink salt water in the night or bath with salt water. So we just personal efforts to curtail this, and NCDC should be on top of the situation. If we can defeat COVID in Nigeria, I think cholera will defeat it. I should think so.
Okay.
Once the measures are
Yeah,
activated.
time is fast running. So let's look at Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune has the same story about River, the same story from River. But one story here that is of interest, just the bottom of the paper. Nigeria partners U.S. agency to send first Nigerian to space. Does that give you some cherry news? Will you be the one to go? So, but this is cherry news. So we're going to have first Nigerian to go.
You know, at the
to
beginning
space.
of the program, I did say that we have some cheering news in Nigeria, but it's just that the Book of Lamentations is so loud these days that the cheering news is few and far in between. It's one of the cheering news, but those who are cynics will say, does that affect the price of Gary in the market?
Maybe this is technology. This is a way of expanding the technological environment of the country. I think this is something that, the question here is, let's just be optimistic and hopeful that this will turn around things in this country. Perhaps, what are they going there to do? Are we going to have our satellites? Often, recently or lately, we heard that our satellites, some of our satellites are nowhere to be found. So, but this is going to be a step in big development in the technology world.
Yeah, I think Nigeria will join the league of nations that have, explored space. It's for science, it's for innovation, it's for technological exploration. It's a good thing, actually, on a more serious note. It's a good thing. It's just that what we do with this good thing is what matters. In other in other climes, not saner societies, in other climes, when this is done, you can see the impact on the economy, on technology, on scientific evolution and innovation. And my hope is, and one hopes that at the end of the day, this contributes to making Nigeria better.
Okay, just above the nameplate of Nigerian Tribune, FG uncovers 1,618 civil servants with fake employment letters.
So who issued the employment letters that they are fake, and how are they uncovered?
Okay, do I go with the question if you ask me?
Who issued the employment letters?
No matter
Why?
where you see,
What kind of
so-
is it through screening that they are uncovered, or could it be just one of this vague move of doing mass retrenchment because of the issue of minimum wage that we're talking about? Because if you are uncovering 1,618 civil servants with fake employment letters, the first question should be, who issued the employment letters? Or is it part of the job racketeering we find in the public space? Does it speak to the corruption in the civil service in general? Because these are civil servants. Oftentimes you hear of people planting ghost workers there, but you are uncovering those with fake employment letters. It means if they were issued fake employment letters, they were also drawing from the salaries of the federal government before this they are being uncovered. So now that you have uncovered them, what happens to what they have earned from the public till before now? Are you going to also ask them to make a refund? But I think this is not something that should be swept under the carpet. If you're uncovering 1,618 civil servants with fake employment letters, should be something that should be thoroughly investigated to fish out those responsible for this act. Because sometimes there are people who are deserving of these jobs that are never given.
Yes.
And you have offered employment, fake employment, to 1,618 persons who possibly may have been drawing salaries from the Commonwealth,
Well,
this
now-
is not something that should be swept
now,
under
and the painful
carpet
thing
at
is,
all.
this 1,000 or so ghost workers that have been uncovered, most of the times don't even report for duty, do not contribute to the GDP in any way, just draw down salaries. However, the questions you have asked are germane. Who gave them those employment letters? How did they come into the system? We have IPPIs, integrated payroll, a very long
yes,
acronym,
system.
IPIS. Now, for your name and your data to go onto that system, a lot of verification steps are involved.
Absolutely.
So how did there must be a syndicate at work to make it possible for you to present fake letters, and then you get onto IPPIS and begin to get paid. So we need to get to the root of the syndicate that is doing this and those who are behind them, not just the culprits who are the 100,000 or so. Sometimes these persons may not even know that the letters are fake.
So I also asked the question, if these people are fake employers, yeah? Employees. Are they different from ghost workers?
I think the term is not different. But again, for me,
They are the most ghostly of all ghost workers.
I am worried that maybe the report tags them as civil servants.
Yeah.
So,
So
so it means the federal government recognizes their status as civil servants, only that they are parading fake employment letters.
Yes.
So how did they come into the service in the first place?
but that's a question to ask. So I'm seeing them as it should have been that these guys, the people here, FG uncovers 1,618 ghost workers.
No. In this case,
Are not civil servants.
in this case, they are real human beings.
Okay.
But their employment status
Okay.
is genuine.
Questionable.
Okay,
Ghost
questionable.
workers are
Yeah.
people who exist only on paper.
So
they are not human beings.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
should think this is what the reforms that the federal, earlier this year, the federal government talked about adopting the Steve Orasanye report to rationalize civil service. So the reforms that the federal government is bringing into the civil service should deepen to curtail this situation of job racketeering, so we don't get to have fake people giving employment when there are real persons that are there that should benefit from this job, but they never get to have them. I think the
okay.
head of service of the Federation should look into this.
We'll take
very
one
carefully.
last, and then just briefly, Daily Asset. Daily Asset has this paper, this headline says, outrage as Niger loses 50 communities to
Bandits.
bandit. Okay.
Yeah, Niger State.
Niger
is,
State, yes.
Yeah, Niger
loses
State.
50 communities to bandits.
Niger State is a very large state. It's 10% of the landmass of Nigeria, the largest state in the country. It starts from the center of the country, that is the FCT, and extends all the way to parts of Niger and Benin Republic. And it's a state that is larger than the South entirely. There are federal constituencies in Niger State that are larger than some states in Nigeria. Constituencies like Dati, Lavun, they are larger than Bayelsa State. And as a result, it leaves a lot. The reason why I'm explaining this is that the landmass is huge and the population is sparse. So there's a lot of, space, forests and wildernesses and crevices and what have you, where criminal elements can filter into. And of recent, these bandits have discovered Niger to be a fertile ground for them to carry out their activities. Even though the government on ground and the traditional institutions have been doing their best to curtail them, it's rather unfortunate that 50 communities, 50, Ben, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 50 communities have been sacked by these bandits. We pray that the law enforcement agencies are able to fish out the perpetrators and return back the unfortunate souls.
Okay, Nath, I would love to get your own comment, but time is not bad. Would you do that in 10 seconds?
But on a very serious note, Ben, I must tell you that for a state to lose up to 50 of its communities to bandits speaks to the horror of insecurity in our country. 50 communities, how are the villagers coping? So it calls to a serious attention that we really need to do a lot to beef up security, not just in Niger State, but other states of the Federation as well, because the product of armed banditry is spread all over the state. The impact is there, and this is huge to feel that 50 communities have been lost to banditry.
Okay, that's the much we can take on the newspaper review on Argate Television. And thank you very much, Natalia Nogo, for coming. And thank you, Emmanuel Tiavia, for coming on the program as well. And thank you as well for staying with iGate Television and watching the program all through to the end. Of course, don't forget that you can get more details or more news from our website, display on the screen at the moment, www.rgateradiotv.com. You get more news, and you can follow us on all our social media handles to get updated breaking news and all that you need to know. Of course, don't forget that at the top, the right top of the website, you have the radio button there and the TV. You can click any of them to listen to our broadcasts. Thank you very much. My name is Benjamin Gutsav, and I wish you a very, very fruitful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.